Have you ever thought about making your own potting mix, or maybe buying a cheaper one and dizzying it up so that it performs so much better? Let me tell you something about plants. They've got to have the very best quality soil. We rave about that on the show all the time. And if you've thought about doing those things and been disappointed, don't worry, that's not an unusual experience, but the message is always go for a quality potting mix. This plant, for example, was grown in a nursery where they grow plants professionally. They will not muck around with the soil, and the results are the perfect plant. To demonstrate what I mean by professional potting mixes and very poor quality ones, I thought I'd take you to a research facility just north of Sydney that's ensuring we all end up with the best quality potting mix. Scott's potting mixes undergo significant research and development. As new or better raw materials become available, the team here tests them against the Australian standard to see if they bring value for plant growth. Matt Durakios is the Senior Technical Officer for Growing Media, focused on research and development. Matt, most people don't realise that soils ain't soils. There's a lot of variation and variability, and it affects the way plants perform. And that's the whole reason for you having these research facilities, isn't it?
That's absolutely right, Trevor. We set up this facility to constantly test and improve on our formulations we're making for products across the country. Our products are always local to where they're actually retailed. Yeah. Our facility here is really focused on ensuring that we're meeting or exceeding the Australian standards. Eligible for the premium red tick. 3 main areas that we'll judge our plants on in our potted trials around the health of the plant. We'll run the trial for over 12 to 20 weeks.
The potting mixes, which you'll know as Osmocote Professional Potting Mix, are designed specifically to get the plant established and growing strongly in the first 6 months, which is critically important for a home garden environment, whether indoors or outside. When it comes to potting mixes, there's a lot of science going on in pulling all the right ingredients. I don't want you to give away all the secrets, but there are some keys, aren't there?
3 key ingredients in there would be our Osmocote slow release fertiliser with smart release technology that actually feeds your plants when they need it, depending on conditions, moisture and heat. We've also got our wetting agent in the mix, which helps direct water to where it's needed most in the pot at the root zone. And of course our trace element blend, which helps produce the strongest and most resilient growth over the long term and helps support fruiting in our heavier fruiting plants.
You're probably thinking to yourself, can there really be that big a difference in potting mixes? But you would be staggered to know the variances. And they'll more often than not get down to things like raw materials. Things like sawdust often gets used, but if it hasn't been composted, it'll take nitrogen out of the mix, robbing it from the plant. There's also fillers, things like sand that are used. Now, they're pretty much inert. They don't bring any value at all other than maybe weight and volume to the mix. The last thing that's probably really critical, of course, is nutrients. And if you don't have the right nutrients in the potting mix, you're in real big trouble because your plants aren't going to grow. And that's where Osmocote is just such a great ingredient. It's going to guarantee 6 months of feeding and get these plants off to the best possible start. There's a lot of choices when it comes to potting mixes in garden centres all over the country. I know you obviously spent a huge amount of time formulating yours. Do you test yours against all the others that are out there as well?
Absolutely. We're always keeping an eye on what our competitors are doing and ensuring that our mixes across the country are performing as we promise they will.
Now, I thought this insight into what goes on behind making the perfect potting mix would be something that you would really appreciate. I can't emphasise it enough. The work that companies like Scott's put into making sure you have the very best potting mix is absolutely critical. Soils are not just soils, and potting mixes, they have to be perfect. Invest in a good quality potting mix and you'll get outstanding results.